Welcome back to Conejo Valley Visionaries. If you follow Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram, you know I asked for guest nominations for season 5. You recommended so many excellent founders, from Dr. Evan Anton of Conejo Valley Vet, Laura Conway of Charity Karaoke, and the incredible team behind Fit for Mom, among many others. In this episode, you'll hear from the business owner with the most nominations, Dr. Rachael Cappuccino, the owner of Cappuccino Physical Therapy in Thousand Oaks. Rachael is a Conejo Valley native who never imagined owning her own practice. But after giving birth to her second child, she set out to create her own schedule, while importantly supporting women of all ages with their pelvic floor health. Join us as we explore her impactful work in women's health, her entrepreneurial journey, and the profound influence Rachael's had on the Conejo Valley community. With that, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Dr. Rachael Cappuccino. If you enjoy this episode and find value in the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and rating. This helps more people find the podcast, and therefore each story can reach more folks in the Conejo Valley. You're not going to want to miss our last Conejo Valley Visionaries live event of 2025. It's going to be a really special evening filled with delicious food and drinks, great conversation, and of course, a live interview with the owner of one of your favorite local destinations. If you're interested in getting first access to tickets, please DM me the word invite on Instagram at Conejo Valley Visionaries, and you'll get the link before it goes live to the public. Thanks again for your support this year, and I look forward to seeing you at our next event. Hey, Rachael, thank you so much for joining me on Conejo Valley Visionaries. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course. I am so thrilled because you are our season 5 listener nominated guest. I pulled the community asking them who they wanted to hear from and had them like whoever's name came up, and you were the most liked, which is incredible, meaning you have made such an impact on the Conejo Valley already, and more people wanted to hear from you. And I am thrilled to learn more about your background and your practice and how you got here. So thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to hear your story.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So what we like to do on the podcast is go back to the beginning. I understand you grew up in the Conejo Valley. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. So if we go way back, I was born here. My parents still live here in the same house. So I am a Conejo Valley native.
Fantastic. What did you want to be back then?
First, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So it's really funny because we go back into my yearbook from 8th grade in 2020 or in 2003. And it was like, I'm going to be representing the US at the Olympics in 2023. And in 2023, I found my yearbook or I think it was the World Cup that was playing at that time. And I was just cracking up because I was like, I'm supposed to be playing soccer with Alex Morgan right now, but I'm just a pelvic floor physical therapist instead, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, that was, and then I wanted to be a teacher at some point, but then I found sports medicine in high school, which led me to physical therapy.
Okay. Well, so you're on the path still then.
Yes.
How did you find sports medicine? Was that through playing soccer?
It was kind of through playing soccer, but also at my high school, it was an elective. And I thought that was really interesting having a background in playing sports. So I took a sports medicine class and then I joined the athletic training team in high school, which was really fun because I was working with the football team. I got to work with the soccer team, and it just introduced me to the world of sports medicine. And then when I got to college though, so actually going into college, I was originally an athletic training major, but then realizing the demands of an athletic trainer and knowing that I eventually wanted to have a family, that it just wasn't going to work. Because if you're an athletic trainer, you are with the sports team all day, every day. You're playing on Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the things. And I knew eventually I wanted to have a family and I wanted like normal hour jobs. So then I switched to physical therapy.
Okay. And so it sounds silly, but between an athletic trainer and physical therapist, are the responsibilities similar? It's just more kind of civilians versus athletes?
Kind of, sort of, yes. And so athletic trainers are there on the field. If somebody gets injured, blood everywhere, whatever, like the athletic trainer is dealing with that, which is also a good thing because I'm not on the spot. I will probably freeze. So it's actually good. And then physical therapists more so will deal with like the aftermath of the injury of the sporting event. And I mean, I think a lot of professional teams do have physical therapists and athletic trainers, and they work very closely together. But for me, this was absolutely 100% the right choice. I have no regrets switching from athletic training to PT.
So when you were in college, you made the switch, and did you imagine you would be owning your own practice one day, or what was your path there?
No. So when I was in college and I went to grad school, I was like all orthopedic, I never thought I was going to own my own practice because I was just
Mm.
like, I'm not a business owner. I'm very shy. I'm very timid. I'm like, no, this isn't going to happen. But then when I I was started working in orthopedics, which I loved because it was helping, anywhere from like weekend warriors, young kids to athletes, just kind of all over the place. But then when my husband and I moved back to this area in 2017, it was like, we're starting to thinking about having a family. I had been introduced to pelvic floor, but very, very like in grad school, I think we got one lecture that was about an hour long. And so it
A big
wasn't
focus.
much. Yeah, not
Yeah.
much at all. But I was like, wait a second, there's like a whole population of women who are dealing with all these issues. I'm probably going to be one of those women in a couple of years. I'm going to be meeting moms. I can help them and I could start my own business. So that's kind of where the idea
Oh,
formulated. And that's what happened, which was awesome.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is pelvic floor dysfunction? What is the like? Is that the specific specialty? And then how is
Yes.
that? How does it
Yes,
come to be
absolutely.
in
Okay,
this?
so in physical therapy, there's so many avenues that you can treat. There's neuro, there's geriatrics, there's orthopedics, and so pelvic floor and women's health. So everyone has a pelvic floor, men and women. Our practice focuses primarily on women, pregnant, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, and so pelvic floor dysfunction. There's so many things, and basically the main reason that I started my practice too is because so many women are living with these issues that nobody tells them that there is help for. So many women are suffering in silence. So like a lot of my mom's friends are like, I've been peeing my pants for 30 years. I'm like, oh my God, please go get help. That's not normal. So things like that. But yeah, so for pregnancy and pelvic floor, we can do birth preparation, help you prepare for labor and delivery. So you train for a marathon, you should also train for birth because birth is a marathon. So it starts there. And we can even work with women or young girls who aren't pregnant and who are dealing, like we're currently working with a gymnast who's dealing with urinary incontinence because of the high impact activity. And so she's doing really great. She's no longer leaking with exercise. And so, but it's not just limited to pregnant and postpartum women. It's women across the lifespan. And so, yeah, so some of the things that we see are urinary incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, which is descent of your pelvic organs, usually commonly after childbirth, but not always. C-section recovery, ab separation, diastasis recti, pain with intercourse is something that we see very commonly, especially in the postpartum period. And then everything that, or not everything, but a lot of times these symptoms that come up postpartum occur in menopause too, when your estrogen is low. And so then now we're working with a lot more older women. And so it's been great, like just working with women across the lifespan. But anyways, I think I went off on a tangent, but
No, no. I mean, I think you covered it in that as a woman, as a female, you have a
yes,
lot that you get to deal with.
yes,
And it can show itself in different ways. And that, yes, I mean, at least speaking for myself, I feel like we get used to things and you just sort of allow it to happen and don't realize that maybe there's a specialist out there who can support you.
yes,
So when you started this, it sounds like maybe it wasn't very common to have a I mean, you had an hour-long lecture,
yes,
and now, I mean, I think just as a observer, there's so much talk about perimenopause.
yes.
There's more openness to talking about this pelvic dysfunction. Have you seen that as a trend? It's become more. You're just finding women are more willing to seek you out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. A lot of people who come to us said, they always say, I wish I knew about you sooner. Why didn't anybody tell me that this exists? It is becoming more of a thing and it's becoming more well known, which is wonderful because, like we said, there is help. And like you said, too, in the perimenopause and menopause space now, I'm seeing a lot more information come out. There's a lot of not so great information, but I'm seeing a lot of urologists and medical professionals and doctors coming out too with like hormone replacement therapy is safe and there are things that you can do and you should also see a pelvic floor physical therapist. So I think just in general women's health is it's people are more aware of it now and that you don't have to live with all of these symptoms and conditions and things and like please just go get help. So
Sure. And so do this is maybe very practical, but is this like, do you get referred by an OB or how does somebody
Yes. So
find
that's a
you?
great question. So our practice, a lot of it is word of mouth, but we do work closely with a lot of the OBs in the area. So we get a lot of referrals from the UCLA group, from the doctors that deliver at Los Robles. In the state of California, though, you actually do not need a referral for for any kind of physical therapy, but specifically for pelvic floor physical therapy, because we have something called direct access. So that's something that we're really trying to like, you don't need a doctor's referral to come and see us. If you're having an issue, come and see us. We
Mhm.
will fax a plan of care to your doctor and they will sign off on it. So they'll still be involved and they'll still know what's going on, but you don't have to go see someone else before you come and see us.
Okay. So let's say somebody finds out they're pregnant. At what stage do they maybe start working with you to get their pelvic floor in a good shape?
Yes. So typically in pregnancy, we like to start in the second trimester. If they're not having any kind of issues and they just want to come for birth preparation, we usually have them come once a month. We need to get a baseline of where their pelvic floor is at. So many people in pregnancy are like, oh, yeah, just do your Kegels. You need a really strong pelvic floor for birth. That's actually, yes, you want your pelvic floor to be strong, but your pelvic floor also needs to lengthen and get out of the way because those muscles have to stretch like 1 to 3 times their resting length to allow the baby to come out. So we do a lot of pelvic floor relaxation, and that is the first thing that we teach in our birth prep program. So we usually will see people once a month throughout their pregnancy if they're not having any issues. If they're having issues like any kind of pain, pelvic floor issues, we'll see them more frequently. But then in the third trimester, we see them for about 5 or 6 visits to do our actual birth preparation where we practice pushing, we practice breathing, we go over different positions. You do not have to lay on your back in the stirrups when you are delivering a baby. There are so many other positions that are probably more effective of getting the baby out. And a lot of people don't know that. So we're here to advocate and to teach you there are other options, tools in your toolbox that you can use to have a better birth.
That's that I did not know that, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much information, and it's like we said, this like as thankfully time goes on, we're
Yes.
able to access more information and learn new things,
Yep.
and it doesn't have to be as hard. It's that weird perception that like pregnancy, everybody does it, but we don't aren't told the
Right.
truth of like how
Right.
challenging it can be, but also that now there are more
There-
ways to sort of prepare for it than what we I think just traditionally thought of, like breathing exercises.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot that can be done and there's a lot that people don't know. And so that's our job is we're just trying to educate and advocate for women.
Okay. And so then in postpartum, do you have a similar program? At what stage do
Yes.
women come to you for that?
So postpartum, we can start as early as 2 weeks postpartum. We won't check your pelvic floor until like 6 weeks when you're cleared, but starting at 2 weeks, we can start with gentle core strengthening, reconnecting the core and the pelvic floor, working on feeding posture, because whether you're breastfeeding or formula feeding, we're always, or holding a baby, we're sitting like this. So there's so much that we can do. And we typically see women for a couple of months, honestly, like through the first year of pregnancy, I'm sorry, through postpartum, because so much changes in that first year postpartum with your hormones shifting, and if you're breastfeeding and those hormone fluctuations, and then your baby is getting bigger and you have to carry a 20-pound baby while your pelvic floor is healing. Obviously that's a little bit further out, but there's just so much that we can do, and we love getting women back to exercise and physical activity because it's just so important. Heart disease is the number one killer of women. And so our goal is to keep women as active as long as we can.
Mm,
And so we want to see you through your first year postpartum to make sure that you can get back to whatever exercise or physical activity it is that you like to do. It's just so important for women's health.
yeah. I love it. So you mentioned you didn't think you were going to be a business owner. You didn't have that maybe
No, no.
entrepreneurial spirit. And yet, though, this combination of finding a very specific specialty, your desire to have children, kind of led you down this path.
Yes.
Walk us through what that process was like for you in terms of taking that step. I'm
Yes.
assuming after you graduated, what were kind of the next steps?
Yes. Okay. So after I graduated from physical therapy school in 2014, so from 2014 to 2020, I worked in other private practices. My son was born in 2020, and then my daughter was born in January of 2022. And so after she was born, it was like, okay, I think like the idea was formulating in my head. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this. I was like, I'm not sure. Can I do this? Is anyone going to come and see me? I don't know. But then at the time that I was thinking about this, there was a business mentorship program that was specific to cash-based pelvic floor physical therapy that I signed up for. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. And that mentorship, I have to say, was probably like the key to my early success in being a business owner, because they just laid the foundation of doing everything right, like how to track leads. And every time we get a phone call, we need to make sure that we're inputting it in the call log, and how to follow up, and how to get people to schedule, and just like all the things that obviously you're not taught in physical therapy school. They don't teach you anything about business ownership there. So that mentorship that I did for about 2 years at the same time that I started my practice was just huge and
Mm.
so helpful. And that was in 2022, June of 2022. So we're going on almost 3.5 years. Thank
Congratulations. That's
you.
amazing. And I love that. That gives you like the framework
Yes.
of certain business practices. How did you find that mentorship or help maybe others who are considering starting their own business?
Yes. So that mentorship, there's in the pelvic PT world, it's a very small community, but there's a lot of different Facebook groups that are specific to clinical and business mentorship. And actually, funny story, my husband knew the business owner, or the mentorship. My mentor, her name was Nicole. My husband knew her mom, and so because they used to work together, and so it was like this connection. He's like, "Oh yeah, you should talk to her because she runs this awesome practice in Orange County." And so from there, it was just kind of like these small connections, and then they were advertising it in some of the groups that I'm in on
Yeah.
Facebook and social media and in the pelvic PT world. And so it's like this timing couldn't be more perfect. So yeah, I highly recommend for any business owners out there, invest in a coach, invest in a mentor, start off on the right foot, because it is so helpful, because then you don't have to go backwards and like fix everything.
Did they help you? I always like to understand if people had a business case when you started, like, or a business plan. Did you, did they help you create one or
Um, no,
have
it's
some?
really funny that we talk about that, because when I was talking about doing this, my husband and I were running numbers, and we were like, okay, so the first year you'll probably see 5 people a week. And then the second year you'll see 10 people a week. And the third year you'll break even. And I was seeing at 15 people a week, I was seeing 15 people a week within like 3 to 6 months. And so I think just starting off on the right foot, and then like networking with right people too, and having that mentorship was really helpful. I
Yeah.
don't think I have a specific business plan written
Okay.
though. So if I ever needed investors, it wouldn't happen.
Well, you have your own space, though, right?
Yes.
Your own practice.
Yes.
I've heard that that's usually required if you're renting a space, but it
Yes.
sounds like in your case, is it different maybe for practitioners versus like if you're opening a retail space?
Yeah. So, and I actually started by renting a room from Body Logic Sports Therapy, which is actually downstairs from where I'm at now. So that was great, because I was also like, I'm a very low risk taker. I'm not big on risks. So I'm like, okay, this is manageable overhead. I'll keep it small. And then we moved up into our own space last September. So I rented a room for 2 years just to make sure that this concept was going to work and that this business was going to be successful. So again, low risks. And then last year I was like, okay, we need our own space now. And so now we've been in this space since September of last year, which has been wonderful having our own space. But I'm so thankful that I got to start by renting a room and work my way up.
It's kind of baby steps.
Yeah.
Now, I get this question actually when we're in these group settings. People want to know who are maybe starting out on their own. And then at what point do you invest more or take that next step? And what was the tipping point for you 2 years in of renting a space to say, you know what, I could use my own dedicated?
Which we were really busy, and we were seeing, I don't know, like probably 20 to 30 people a week. And Body Logic is a really big operation downstairs too. And they're a wonderful PT clinic. But I just felt like it was getting too crowded down there between them and us. And I wanted to have our own space. We can't really host events here because it's a little bit small, but maybe we're going to get a bigger space soon. But I just wanted like our own space that feels like this is ours. And the timing was right. Like we were really busy, and I felt ready. I
Mhm.
felt ready that we had outgrown the space and it was time.
Was there something from your mentorship that really stuck out to you as kind of the silver bullet for your success, or was it a combination of many things?
I think it was a combination of many things. I think with the mentorship, and they start with like the marketing, they're like, send letters to the different OBs and the doctors in the area, try to meet with the midwives and doulas and do all the things. And I think the other thing, so I did all of that. I like did all the marketing, and I honestly would just message anyone and anyone who would listen to me and wanted to meet with me. And that's like, I found midwives, I found doulas, I found lactation consultants, anyone who would talk to me. I was like, great, let's talk. But there was one doula who I met with and early on, and she was like, oh, you're going to take off. You're going to be really successful really early on. I was like, I don't believe you. Like, but she was right. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for believing in me. So that was really cool too. So I feel like kind of being in the right space at the right time and then networking with the right people was also really helpful.
Yeah, it seems like your outgoing nature probably helped kind of move things along in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Now, having been a business owner for 3.5 years, do you regret it? Or are you happy that you took that step?
That's a really good question. I don't regret it at all. There are some days where I'm like, oh, it would be easier to just go to work and then come home and not have to worry about all the admin things and like checking my emails at 9 o'clock at night. But I'm doing this for myself and for my kids. Really, the main reason that I started was to have flexibility with my children when they get to school age, which now my son is 5 and I'm able to volunteer in his classroom, which is cool. And that is exactly what I wanted, what I envisioned for myself. Was like, I don't want to work 40 hours for somebody else. At least I can have a flexible schedule. I can be with him, hopefully go on the field trips or do whatever it is, because they're only going to be little ones. And I want to be really involved while they're little. And so, no regrets starting a business. It does have some days where I'm just like, oh, but most days it's mostly highs, very few lows. But such is life with everything.
Yeah, no, I love to hear. Was there something like what's been the most surprising part about running your own business?
It's this most surprising part. It's just like it's so much work that and all the things that nobody teaches you, like SEO, marketing, keeping track of who your referrals are, just all of that stuff that you're like, wow, this and then you wonder how these ginormous companies do it. And I'm like, I'm just
Mm,
so small and I, obviously mom too. There's just I don't even know. There's just so much to do all the time
yeah.
and I just make it work somehow. I don't even know.
What are you most proud of?
I'm definitely most proud of how many women that we have helped. We get so many people coming back saying that they had really successful births, or they were able to run without peeing, or they were able to be intimate without pain, just things like that, and just helping women live their lives without like the consequences of being a woman. And so I think that's what I'm most proud of is that we can really help women who are dealing with issues.
Yeah. Do you have a particular success story that sticks out?
There's so many. So right now I'm actually really with the gymnast that I've been working with. That's been awesome because she's 16. She's the cutest little thing. And she just came in with her mom, and her mom is wonderful. And so the fact that she's not leaking anymore because she does really high impact forceful activity. So that's been awesome too, because that's not something that she's going to have to, well, hopefully not deal with the rest of her life because she's so young. And
Yeah.
she's hopefully going to have babies in the future. So that's been awesome. And then most recently, I've been working with a runner for about a year now, and she finally is able to run like 5 to 6 miles without leaking too. And so those are just like, like amazing.
So, I mean, it's as a woman, I should know maybe the answer to this, but I don't. What is the sort of root cause of the incontinence?
That's a great question with an answer that's very much it depends. This is and you
Okay.
ask any physical therapist, they're like, it depends. So with incontinence, usually so there's some form of tightness and some form of weakness in managing pressure. So a lot of times with women, we're like bearing down, we're all of our might and we're squeezing as tight as we can. And so sometimes your pelvic floor muscles are actually too tight and overactive, and that can contribute to incontinence. And then sometimes it's weakness. And so this is why, like, there's a lot of influencers out there like, oh, like I did 10 Kegels and I stopped leaking. It's really important to get an individualized approach because is your pelvic floor tight? Is it weak? Are you
Mm.
bearing down when you're running? What are you doing? Is it your hip muscles? There's so many things to look at. Usually though with incontinence, it's like a pressure management. Is that your urethra cannot maintain the pressure that's in your bladder and that causes you to leak. But there's so many, I won't go into all the details, but there's just so many things that we have to look at. And it's really important to get an individualized answer of, are you tight? Are you weak? Are your hips tight? Is your core tight? Like what's going on?
Right, and you'll help educate your clients on how to, whether it be exercises or different types of activities that will help counteract that.
Yes, absolutely. So some people don't need Kegels. Some people actually need to learn to relax their pelvic floor. And so we're doing breath work and we're doing stretches. Some people, their pelvic floor is weak. So I'm like, okay, maybe you do need Kegels, but maybe we also need to do hip strengthening, and then watching running form too, or whatever, jumping on the trampoline, whatever it is, we need to watch your form because we're holding our breaths. We need to breathe. It's very individualized to each person. So there's a lot that we look at.
Did you mention, I forget the term, the ab, where your abs
Yeah,
separate
ab
out?
separation, diastasis
So
recti.
you also work with that as well?
Yes, that's something that we
Okay.
see very commonly in postpartum. So diastasis, there's a lot of different factors too. A lot of it has to do with genetics. A lot of it has to do with where you're carrying the baby. Usually people who are carrying like more outward as opposed to upward, that's when we see more ab separation. Very commonly seen in multiples. So we have a couple of twin mamas who very much
I'm a
have.
twin mom.
Okay, so maybe you know what I'm talking about. And then a lot of it too is pressure management. Like when you're lifting weights, are you pushing your stomach out or are you drawing in? So, and then also too, your core and your pelvic floor are best friends. So we need to make sure that your pelvic floor is working in addition to your core and that those muscles are coordinated to help maintain pressure, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I had a couple of friends who didn't realize that was going on until
Yeah.
kind of late postpartum, and
Yep.
then finally were able to go in. But
Yeah.
it seems relatively common to
It's
happen.
very common. And then the other thing I want people to know, it's never too late to get help. Whether you're 6 months, 6 years postpartum, we can still help. It's never too late. So don't let anyone say otherwise because there's always help.
What do you think about running a business in the Conejo Valley?
I
How has
like
it
it.
been?
It's
Yeah.
been good. I think one of my favorite parts about running the business in the Conejo Valley is meeting with other business owners and being able to refer to them too, especially in the birth world. So like I said, there's a lot of like midwives and doulas and lactation consultants and chiropractors and mental health therapists. And those are probably the main ones that I work with. But when somebody comes in and they say like, I'm feeling really anxious. I'm like, okay, here's the mental health therapist that I would love you to go see. And all of those people are in the Conejo Valley and they're all business
Mhm.
owners too. So that has been really fun and really rewarding, that just like this network that we have in the Conejo Valley.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, how does it feel to not only have grown up here, but now running a business here? Have you seen, could you have ever imagined that when you were a kid growing up here?
No, not at all. Not at all. And then it's funny too, because like some people who have come through our doors, I'm like, oh, like I know your mom or you know my mom or something, just like that kind of like full circle moment. But this is definitely not something that I ever dreamed of as a kid.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What's your vision for your business?
My vision for my business is I definitely would like to grow a little bit more, not a ton. And I think I want to wait until my kids are probably in middle school. So right now, I'm really happy with where we're at, how many people we're seeing a week. I have one other physical therapist who works for me, and she's wonderful. I think eventually I would like to bring on one more physical therapist and just like be the go-to one-stop shop for moms in the Conejo Valley who want to prepare for labor and delivery and who want to recover postpartum. And then eventually when they're dealing with perimenopause and menopause issues, they come back. It's just I envision us helping women all throughout their lifespan. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's like one piece of advice you would give to, I guess like, is there a similar piece of advice you give to your patients who come in for no matter what age they are in terms of their pelvic health that we can kind of take away?
That's a big one. It's funny you say that too, because yesterday at the farmer's market, I was with my mom and she ran into her Pilates teachers. And my mom was like, oh, this is my daughter. She's a pelvic floor physical therapist. And the Pilates instructor was like, I'm tightening my pelvic floor right now. And I was like, no, 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 don't do that. You don't need to tighten your pelvic floor all the time. I think just the piece of advice is like, let things go. Because I think as women, we are just taught to suck in, boobs out, like squeeze everything. And we have so many people who come in and we have to teach them how to breathe, teach them how to relax, teach them how to unclench your butt, unclench your abs, unclench your pelvic floor, and like let things go. Yes, there is a time and a place for you to activate your pelvic floor and your core. But most of the time, like sitting here right now, you and I, we just need to be relaxed. There's no need to clench. So I think that would be the biggest thing is like Kegels aren't always the answer. Sometimes you just need to breathe and let things relax.
I love that.
Yeah.
And such, I mean, it is true. I feel like we're all, yeah, that posture, the way that you're supposed to be like holding in your abs has definitely been ingrained in our, at least in
Yep.
our generation of like how we were raised. So good to know we can let
Yes.
loose a little
Yes.
sometimes.
Let it go sometimes. Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do in the Conejo Valley?
My favorite thing to do in the Conejo Valley. Um, Moody Rooster is my favorite restaurant, and I like going there for the crispy gnocchi.
I've never had that before.
Oh
I
my
need to give
gosh.
it a try.
It's so good. It's so good. And when anytime anyone's like, date night, where should I go? I'm like, let's go to Moody Rooster. Not it's so good. And then we haven't been hiking a ton, but I think exploring all the restaurants, especially Moody Rooster, that's probably my favorite thing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question for you, Rachel, is what's one piece of advice you would give to a first-time entrepreneur?
I would say go for it. It's scary. It's going to be hard. It's going to have a lot of ups and downs. But if you believe in it and you're passionate about it, if you meet the right people and you really put your heart and soul into it, you can make it happen. So go for it.
Boom. Love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Congratulations on what you've been able to build in 3 years. As I
Thank
mentioned,
you.
you are season 5 listener nominated
Hi.
guest, which I mean, I think that shows a lot for how you've impacted so many people in this community and in such a short amount of time. So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And I love to, watch you see out your vision.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Conejo Valley Visionaries. If you like today's episode, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to rate and review us. That's the best way to support the podcast. To enter our giveaways, learn about local events, and to find out more about each guest, follow at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us an email. We are always open to guest nominations. Email conejovalleyvisionaries@gmail.com. This episode was produced by Christina Denstead and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J. Sloan Productions.